Welcome to another video by Demystifying Proposals. In this video, we offer step-by-step guidance to ensure the proposal is compliant and submitted on time. In this section, we'll talk about the production process. We've talked in other training videos about Gold Team and White Glove, but post White Glove, what you should do first and foremost is clean up any lingering comments from the White Glove review to get to a final complete proposal, all volumes and all sections. Then follow the production instructions on the next slides to make the documents ready for submission. Here are some final touches to take during production. This includes ensuring all volumes have been edited. While we always emphasize that proposals are scored and not read, we also note that proposals are the first example of the quality of your work for this government customer. So if your proposal is sloppy, they might assume that your work on the contract after award may also be sloppy. You want to vary the number of times you use your company's name. Try to use our team or we more often. Remember, your company logo is on every page. The evaluators know whose proposal they are reading. Also, check all acronyms have been spelled out on first use. You might want to consider using an acronym list if there are lots of acronyms, unusual acronyms, and provided the RFP instructions allow it. Ensure all terms from the RFP are spelled out as the RFP uses them. So, for example, is lifecycle 2 words or 1 word? Cybersecurity, 2 words or 1 word? Make sure every table and figure has a callout in the text, preferably close to the table or figure being cited. Make sure every table and figure has an action caption that includes the selling point of the table or figure. And then edit for grammar and conciseness. Don't forget to run spell check and grammar check. Also, we note that it is a rare proposal that is within page count during the color team process. If you still need to edit the document to get it down under page count, see our tips, tricks, and tools video for some ways to reduce your page count, looking for orphans and formatting tricks, etc. The next set of production final touches is to ensure all volumes have been formatted. You may reapply the styles to ensure consistency of font, color, and layout. Confirm the margins are set as required by the RFP. Usually this is 1 inch top bottom, left right. Be sure the document has widow orphan function applied so that a single line of text will not appear at the end or the beginning of a page. Ensure all tables are not wider than 6.5 inches, assuming that you're using a 1 inch margin. You want to make sure that your tables are edge to edge. So if you have less than a 1 inch margin, then make sure that your table fills the page. Ensure any graphics are also not wider than 6.5 inches. We recommend using a table for graphics versus text boxes, and the instructions for how to do that are listed below. Make sure you remove extra spacing between sentences. Use the find and replace function to replace any double blank spaces with a single blank space. This is particularly for anyone who grew up using a typewriter. When we all took typing classes, they asked us to use 2 spaces after a period, and a lot of people still do that. So give yourself a little extra space by doing a search and replace on 2 spaces and replacing it with a single blank space. Another final touch is to make sure that all volumes are compliant. We harp on compliant because if your proposal is non-compliant, you spent a lot of time, energy, and probably frustration for several weeks or months for no good reason, because the first thing the government checks is compliance, and a non-compliant proposal is usually not evaluated any further. So, as a final check, confirm all sections match the requirements for Section L or the proposal instructions. A good way to do this is to use the compliance matrix and physically check off each element is included somewhere in the proposal. Check the L references and the headers in all volumes as part of this process. This check includes not only the technical volume, but also the cost volume. And if there are additional volumes, those should be included as well and evaluated against Section L requirements. Then confirm all the elements of Section M have been included. As with Section L, be sure to check the technical volume, the business volume, and any additional volumes against the RFP requirements in Section M or the evaluation criteria. This includes also checking the heading references. Again, using the compliance matrix is a good way to do this. Then recheck all of the tasks in Section C or the statement of work or performance work statement to make sure that they have all been addressed in your proposal. This again includes checking the heading references. It may be because of page constraints, you've had to minimize your response to some of the Section C tasks. You want to document that decision making in case it becomes an issue in the government's evaluation. Finally, confirm all sections and all volumes are within whatever page count restrictions can be found in the RFP after you finished editing and formatting. Now that you've gotten through the gauntlet of production, it's time to do the submission. In preparation for submission, the proposal manager should have ensured that the contracts lead, whoever's going to be submitting the proposal, has been part of the proposal team throughout the proposal process. We recommend that someone from contracts be part of the proposal team to deal with all things contracts, not just the proposal submission. This includes things like terms and conditions, signing of the government documents, organizational conflict of interest, compliance for the business volume, etc. The proposal manager also has consulted with the contracts lead in developing the proposal schedule. So the contracts lead should understand the requirements of the RFP as well as the proposal manager does, and also agree on the proposal submission planning. Then the proposal manager ensures the documents will be ready in advance of the proposal submission deadline. How far in advance is company preference? Generally, we recommend 3 or 4 hours in advance of the submission deadline. The capture manager and solution architect or delivery lead should be available and prepared to help as needed, even if it's only with remote support and virtual coffee. Depending on company size, proposal resources, etc. This could include coordinating with an editor, desktop publishing, graphics, print production, especially if you have a hard copy submission. These are the steps to take for submission execution, provided that the submission is via email or via a portal. The proposal manager, with help from the capture manager, solution architect, and possibly the business lead, sends an email to the contracts lead with the details of submission. Now, your contracts lead should have been part of your proposal team, so this wouldn't be the first time that they are aware of this proposal submission, and they should understand how the proposal is to be submitted, whether that's email or a portal, and what the timing of the submission is. But here you're going to send an email that details the number of files for the submission, the names and the types of files, the number of files. So it's clear to all exactly what is to be submitted. The email should detail where to find the documents once they are ready. Some contracts leads prefer to have the documents included in the email. Some contracts leads prefer to go and get them for themselves. Be sure you know the preference of the contracts lead that you're dealing with. The email should also deal with the proposal submission instructions. To whom is the email to be delivered? What time is the proposal due? And if it's a portal submission, what are the plans for that meeting? We'll talk about that on a further slide. The email also may include the submission email language, although the contracts lead often wants to develop that language, maybe in consultation with the capture manager and other leadership. These are the steps that you can take for submission via email. The contracts lead submits the documents by the deadline in the RFP. Usually, proposals are submitted several hours in advance of the actual deadline, as set by company policy, but usually no less than an hour in advance, preferably 3 or 4 hours in advance. Companies sometimes encourage submission a day in advance, if at all possible. Be sure that there are no restrictions against this in the RFP. The contracts lead CCs or BCCs the appropriate staff on the submission, including the proposal manager, capture manager, solution architect, business lead, and others. The email submission is addressed to all of the people named in the RFP. Usually, that's at least one contracting officer and a contracting specialist. The email includes a greeting. Dear Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, we are pleased to submit this proposal in response to the RFP solicitation number for the name of the RFP. Then you want to detail what exactly is being submitted, the number of files, and sometimes the file types, especially if there's any concern at all about compliance. And then thank you for your consideration. And then the contracts lead should include a read receipt to receive confirmation of the date and the time the email reached the customer's servers. Note that can be particularly important if you're right up against the submission deadline. You also want to request a confirmation email from the contracting officer or the contracting specialist. That email is what confirms the actual submission of the proposal, not the read receipt. So make sure that you get that. The contracts lead will distribute that confirmation email when it's received to the appropriate staff. Usually it's the same as the CC or the BCC from the email submission. If your proposal submission is via a portal, then a lot of the same steps take place, but a portal submission, you might want to consider having more than one set of eyes watching the submission, either via a meeting invitation, if you do it remotely, or an in-person meeting. After the submission, be sure to take a screenshot of the submission documents in the portal, including the date and time when submitted. If a confirmation email is sent from the portal, distribute that confirmation email when received to the appropriate staff, much as you would have with an email submission. As a reminder, portal submissions often take longer because many people are trying to use the portal at the same time. So be sure to account for this in your scheduling of the submission. Hard copy submissions are fortunately pretty rare these days. However, they are more complex than either email or portal submissions. So you have to think about your submission execution for hard copy submissions. The proposal manager, with help from the capture manager, ensures everything is prepared to print the final proposal documents. You have enough paper on site that you can do reprints as needed. You have bought binders, and you've preferably gotten together a graphic cover that can be slipped into the binder cover. Plan for binders that will fit the number of pages for each volume. So you may use different size binders for different volumes and plan for that. Sometimes CDs may be required. So think about the logistics of burning CDs, as most company equipment these days does not include CD burners. You may have to use an external CD burner, and you may have to figure out how you're going to connect that CD burner to your laptop or computer. CD labels and stompers to apply them are also rare in most offices these days, so be sure to procure those early in the process if needed. And the same applies for flash drives. If you're going to have to submit flash drives instead of CDs, you want to make sure that you're prepared early, and you need to make sure that you can use flash drives with your company equipment. We recommend that you print 2 copies of all volumes and then send 1 copy in one direction with one person and send another copy a completely different route to the customer. You want to do both of these several hours in advance of the proposal submission time, but make sure it's when the customer's offices are open. Be sure that each person has a hard copy delivery receipt to be signed by the customer upon receipt of the proposal. And be sure that each person who's driving a copy of the proposal coordinates with the other. You do not want to deliver both copies of the proposal. As a final step, be sure to send a thank you email to the proposal team for all of their hard work during the proposal development process. Include any leadership, including the bosses of all the folks who helped you on the proposal. Include subcontractors, depending on your relationship and how much they actually help. Sometimes that email is sent separately and maybe from the capture manager, but you do want to make sure that you thank your subcontractors as well. And consider sending a thank you email to the proposal reviewers. They often overlap with the leadership included in the first email, but it doesn't hurt to let them know separately that you appreciate their support and their time in reviewing the proposal. Don't forget that there are likely some post-submission activities that you need to take on as well. So one of the things you want to make sure that you do is archive your proposal files. Most companies have a safe repository for all proposals to ensure that the final proposal documents are preserved as they were submitted. This archive should also include all of the RFP documents so that there is documentation as to what the proposal was written against. Usually, companies do not leave pricing files in the shared repository used during the proposal development process. Those files are instead saved only to this repository for reference. That's because pricing files are often very sensitive, and often the SharePoint directory will have more access than this repository does. Next, you want to decompose your proposal files. For example, the management approach may be reusable, but be sure to note the proposal name when saving this kind of boilerplate, as that management approach will have been tailored for that particular opportunity. The technical approach may also be reusable, particularly if it's a solution that is a branded solution for your company, something that you do frequently for customers and future customers. If it's part of your brand, save that with the name of the file. Otherwise, save only if reuse is likely. Your past performance should be saved into some kind of past performance repository for future use. Again, because past performance is tailored, be sure to note the proposal name in the file name for reuse. That way, if somebody's looking for past performance and they have a proposal that's similar to the proposal you just did, they know that past performance they can reuse because it's similar in nature to the one that they're working on now. Most of the time, we recommend conducting a lessons learned as well. Most companies have a process for this kind of lessons learned to explore what went right and what went wrong, and any process improvements that can be put in place to address both things that went wrong and things that went right. Some companies wait to conduct lessons learned until after award notification, but some prefer to do it just after the proposal has finished, before the outcome has been determined, so as not to bias the lessons learned. You can do it either way. We just suggest that you do it for process improvements. Once award notification has been received, be sure to communicate the outcome as appropriate. Wins, of course, should be broadly celebrated. Be sure all proposal team members are aware of the win in a timely manner. Think about whether a win celebration should be planned. This often depends on the strategic value of the proposal. If your company awards bonuses, be sure all proposal leadership get a say in determining the bonus awards. Losses are important to communicate as well, but require a little bit more careful handling. Proposal team members should be notified of a loss. Whether everyone is informed of the details is specific to your company. We generally believe in transparency, especially for those who worked hard on the proposal effort, but you should follow your own company's policies with regard to losses. Subcontractors should be notified, but often are not told the details of why the proposal was a losing submission. Debriefs, again, should be shared, but also archived for future reference. Who has access to the debrief details is usually restricted to company leadership and those involved in growth, such as BD leads, capture managers, proposal managers, etc. That's so that the debriefs can be used for process improvement. Thank you for listening to another training from Demystifying Proposals. If you learned something from this video, please hit the thumbs up to like the video. Subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to be notified of future videos. If you'd like, please leave a comment.